Well, welcome back to the shop. I've got a little project today. We're going to do a little metal fabrication and make a grate that fits in a fireplace. It's a request I had from a client, my brother. So I've drawn up a little deal that's going to kind of look like that. I'll give you a little close-up. And it's going to fit inside an outdoor fireplace so he can do some grilling on it, put some pots and what have you inside there, grill some food or paella or whatever the heck he makes in his fireplace outside. But anyway, I had some old grates here, so those are going to be the grates. We'll have to modify a little bit. But let me show you what the plan looks like here. So this is the plan, and as you can see, this is roughly the shape of the bottom of the fireplace. So this is the back, obviously, and so it's going to fit in. The side walls of the fireplace are slanted roughly at about this angle. Then it's going to sit on. And this, by the way, this all has to get mailed. So he's probably going to be into this more for the mailing charges than material charges. But anyway, it's going to sit on uprights. It's going to be about 12 inches high. It'll sit on some uprights, and these uprights will be removable. They'll just sit into these little tubes, sit into a little piece of larger tube right there. So all those will come out. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start cutting some steel. And we're using a 1.5 by 1.5 by quarter angle iron for the main frame. It's going to go all the way around. And then these grates here are going to be some of these things that I salvaged from an old barbecue that I threw away years ago. And for some reason I thought I was going to have a use for them, and they're still around, so I guess now I have a use for them. So we're going to clean these up. They're going to have to be modified a bit. I've got to shorten them, and in order to get all 4 of them in here, I'm going to have to cut them down on width a little bit. So we'll do that later. And then I'll tack it back together so they stay basically the same as they are here with these cross pieces and whatnot. Now the other thing I did is I also made just a drawing of this, the shape of the grate on my table here. You can kind of see it, just so I get the angles here up that way. It's 15 inches deep from from front to back. And I just put that on the table here so I could make sure I get the angles right as we go to cutting. So we're going to go ahead, start measuring this up, and use the chop saw here to cut some pieces. So let's get started. We've got the front cross piece and the rear cross piece. I'm going to lay those down now and try to get an angle of what I've got to cut so the next ones can join them. See, I'm using a porta band here to cut that little notch out of there. Okay, we've got these corners just about where we want them. We're going to have to grind them a little bit, and we need to bevel this anyway to get some good penetration down in there and clean these up a little bit. But anyway, that's kind of the idea. So anyway, that's how that top's going to go together. All right, we've got this set up pretty well, just the way I like it. Got these ground out pretty good so we can get a good wall in there, but I'm going to go ahead right now and just put some tacks in it to hold it. And I've got a couple other things we need to do before we weld the whole thing up. Now these little pieces right here, I'm going to cut those, and they're going to sit right in here so that there's going to be expanded metal on these little sides right here. So this will just kind of support that expanded metal that's going to be laying across here. So we'll go ahead and got a mark, pull our porta band out and stop it. Now we'll grind these a little bit, chamfer them here a little bit on the edges so we get a good weld in there, and we'll go ahead and tack that up. What I'll do is we'll turn this over, weld this up on the bottom here, flatten these out, then I can start putting the support pieces in here. So we'll go ahead and weld this up. I'm going to have to grind these welds flat because the little things, little pieces of pipe that I'm going to put to support are going to be right here. So we'll grind those flat. Okay, now we're going to cut a couple, 4 pieces. We'll do 2.5 inches. I should have plenty here. I got 12, 2.5, yeah, so we'll do 2.5 inches. All right, we got our 4 little pieces of tube. Take those to the grinder and clean them up a little bit. Okay, we'll put a little tack on these. The next thing we're going to cut are the pieces that will fit down in there. Just right like that. Go back to our little drawing here. Those are going to be 11 inches. I think what we got to do now is going to finish welding these up here. All right, we made a little more progress here. We've got these uprights welded up. Still have to touch them up a little bit. One thing I did is I drilled and tapped right here and put a little 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch by 1/2 bolt there to keep these legs snug. We've got to weld this up. We've got to weld the top over here. We've got to weld this up, and in here, these are still just tacked. But I'm now in the process of cutting these grills. I had to chop them down this way, cut a little bit off to make them all fit in there. I had 4 of them, so I had to cut a little bit off of each of 2 of them. And now we've got to cut them to length here. I've got them marked. So we'll go ahead and take our grinder with a cutoff wheel, trim those up so they'll sit in there. So let's get on that. Okay, we've got a little piece of expanded metal here. We're going to cut some triangles out of this to fit right in here to fill up that gap where the grates stop. We'll fill us up right here with some expanded metal on both sides. So I've got it marked out. We'll go ahead and take the grinder and cut that out. There we go. Now we've got to cut one for the other side. Now if I was lucky, I'd be able to cut that at a 45 and that would fit, or at a 90 degree right here, and it'll fit right in there. Let's see how good we are, or how lucky we are. Oh, we're going to be pretty lucky, I think. We're going to be pretty darn lucky. There we go. That is pretty much exactly what it's going to look like. Got to do a few things. Got to tack these bars across the back here. Tack these down. Well, we've got to weld up the top here. We haven't done that yet. But I think we're all done cutting, and we're ready to put this thing to bed. When I cut these grill grates off, I had to also cut off one of the little bars. So I made some pieces here to weld back on there. I believe these are stainless, and I don't have any stainless rod or any gas to weld stainless. So I'm just going to try to tack them in there a little bit with just some MIG weld. So I've got it cleaned up here a little bit. Let's see what we can do. I think that'll be okay. we're going to take all this out. I've got to weld up the top here. I'm just ready to weld up a few spots at the top here. Okay, I had to touch up these grates a little bit so they fit in there easy. And now we've got that all done so they pop right down in. And should be able to put them in any way. There we go. So now what we've got to do, we're going to tack down these pieces of expanded metal. And then I'll take a wire wheel to it and touch it all up, and we'll clean up our mess first, and then we'll take some acetone to it and clean it up really good and shoot it with a coat of high temp paint and be done with it. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of my mess here, get a wire wheel out and work this over a little bit, and I think I'm about ready to call it good. Well, we've got our little fireplace grill project pretty well wrapped up. Got these grates fit in there. I didn't paint them obviously because it's stainless steel, didn't want to do that. I painted everything else, just this expanded metal, well tacked that in there. Finished welding everything up. Put some feet on it. They're not welded the best, but they're not going to fall off either. I put a nut right here. I did have just some threads through this thin wall tubing, and I thought, well, I'll put a nut on there to give it a little more heft. So I've done that on all four corners, painted it up. I think we're looking pretty good. And we'll send that off to the client. Anyway, hope this little project was helpful for you. It's kind of a fun little one. If all of any of you out there have a small outdoor fireplace and might need a place to grill or a way to grill in your fireplace, this might give you an idea. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button also. If you got any comments, suggestions, don't forget to send them along. Appreciate it.